this is the Motorola Moto G, and as you can see on the box it says it's a Google company, but now recently Lenovo has acquired Motorola. I'll talk about that a bit later, but let's first get on with the review. And the first thing that strikes is when you hold this phone, it talks about the build quality. The build quality on this Moto G is excellent. And before I proceed, let me give you a physical overview first, and then we'll move on. On the top, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. We do also get a secondary microphone. And on this end, we have the power button. This is the volume rocker. And on the bottom, we have the main microphone, micro USB slot that will be used for charging the device. And on this end, actually nothing. On the rear, we have a speaker phone. And actually, the speaker is actually very loud on this Moto G. And we have the 5 megapixel camera which can record video up to 720p HD, and also it can record video in slow motion. We have a LED flash, and we have this dimple Motorola, and actually it's quite convenient to hold the phone. And the back by default you get is in black color, and it's actually plastic, but it gives that rubberish feel, and it's actually very nice to hold. And again, if you look at the front, we don't have any branding, and it sports a 4.5-inch screen. That's a 720p HD screen. We have the earpiece and the front-facing camera, and on the bottom also we don't have any physical buttons. The buttons are part of the display. Now coming to the screen quality that Motorola has put on this Moto G is exceptional. It's a 720p screen, and the quality is actually very good. You have to see it to believe it. Also, in terms of responsiveness, the phone is actually pretty responsive. As you might have noticed, it looks like very stock Android experience, and that is it. Actually, we just have two Motorola specific apps. Apart from that, the interface is very stock. We have 5 home screens like we get on stock Android. And when I purchased this phone, this came with Android version 4.3, but it was soon upgraded to the latest version of Android, that is KitKat. And as you can see right now, it's running the Android version 4.4.2, that is KitKat. And again, now some of you might be asking that now Lenovo has taken over Motorola, what will happen to Android updates? I do believe that we will still get Android updates, because Motorola had promised that this Moto G as well as the Moto X will get latest Android updates. So I'm not that much worried about it. Now coming to under the hood also, the specifications on this Moto G are pretty good, and to show you that I'll use the CPU-Z application, and it's actually powered by a quad-core processor. It's based on the Snapdragon 400 chipset, and as you can see, it's running on the ARM Cortex-A7, and it's clocked at 1.2 GHz, and it's a quad-core processor. That means there are 4 cores on this, and the GPU is also a good one, that is the Adreno 305. Coming to RAM, it has 1 GB of RAM, and the battery is a 2070 milliampere battery. One thing to note is that though the back cover can be opened, the battery is not user replaceable. If you open the back cover, you just get access to the micro SIM. We don't even have a micro SD card slot. So you need to be careful when you buy this Moto G. We do get in 2 capacities, the 8 GB and the 16 GB variant. I would suggest that if you are a person who likes to store a lot of material or actually likes to play a lot of games, I would suggest the 16 GB variant over the 8 GB variant. Now coming to the overall performance, I would say the overall performance of this phone is actually pretty good, and as you can see, I do not notice any lag on the phone. Yes, sometimes there is a minor hiccup if you look very closely, but for the most part I would say it handles the device without any issues, and Moto G runs Android very well. Again, it comes down to, as it's running a very stock version of Android. One thing I did notice is that sometimes I do notice a little bit of lag when switching between the applications. It sometimes takes half a second or so when you're doing heavy multitasking, but apart from that, it's a very responsive phone. One issue I noticed with the unit I have of this Moto G is, let me zoom in, and here I have the power button and the volume rocker, and if you can see, actually there is a lot of play between this button. It's actually a little bit wobbly. Actually, the volume button is not that wobbly, but the power button has excess of wobble. I don't know if it's the early batch, because do note that I got this Moto G pretty early. I purchased this one from UK in November, but I do feel that the power button is a little bit wobbly on this Moto G. In India, the Moto G is going to launch on February 5th, 2014. I don't know the current pricing, but I'll list the pricing when it launches in the annotations and also in the show notes. Now let me also talk about the speaker quality. The speakerphone quality is actually very good. Let me show you the dialer. This is the dialer, new dialer. It shows you the recent calls and your favorites automatically get populated. Let's dial this number and let me set it to speakerphone.
Welcome to the ASL prepaid service. To select language, press 1. To know the balance,
as you have noticed, it's actually very loud. The speakerphone quality is actually very loud and I had no problems with that one. The only con here is the earpiece. Actually, regarding the volume, I don't have an issue, but it was the voice call quality. I would say the call quality is not that great. The calls sometimes sound a bit muffled. So I would say if you are a person who likes to talk a lot on the phone, then the Moto G might not be for you, because the call quality was not very clear. And if I would have to rate it, let's say 10 is the best, I would rate the voice call quality on this Moto G to be around 5.5 or so. So again, if you make a lot of voice calls, then I would not suggest this Moto G for you. That's one of the major cons with this phone. Regarding the front-facing camera, I just tested it with the Skype video calls, and the Skype video calls were okay. It's nothing great, but it does a decent job and it should suffice. I'll talk about the rear-facing camera a bit later. Before that, let's do some web browsing, as we are connected to our Wi-Fi network, and we'll use this Chrome browser that comes, and let's actually go to our website, that's tech2baz.com. This is not the stock keyboard, this is Swift keys, but even the stock keyboard should suffice. I personally like Swift keys though. And as you noticed, it loaded the site very quickly, and we do get the pinch to zoom gesture, and it is pretty smooth, and we do have a lot of actually videos on this page. So let's open up one of the videos, and it has a YouTube video, so let's see how it handles that. As you can see, the orientation change was also pretty quick, and this is a YouTube video, so let's play this.
Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we're going to do an in-depth review for the Sony Xperia C, which is a mid-range Android phone. So let's do the in-depth review for the Sony Xperia C.
So as you can see, I had no problems playing YouTube videos like this, and also in terms of web browsing, I had no problems with this device. So in terms of web browsing, you'll have a good experience. One thing I did notice is that instead of this default Chrome web browser, I had much better experience with the Firefox web browser on this Moto G. Regarding multi-touch points, I tested it, and I was able to register 5 multi-touch points on this Moto G. One more thing is that this Moto G does support USB OTG functionality, but it does not work out of the blocks. You have to use this Nexus Media Manager. I actually made a dedicated video regarding that, so you can check out that if you are interested in the USB OTG functionality. And yes, it works even after the KitKat update. Regarding the video playback, I also had a good experience. It could play videos even up to 1080p. Now coming to gaming also, here also I had some very good experience with the Moto G. I tested this Moto G with a lot of games, and also with heavy games like Asphalt 8, etc. I had no problems. Yes, I had to tone down the graphics settings to medium, but overall in terms of gaming also I had a very good experience. You can check out this dedicated video that I made regarding gaming if you're interested in that aspect. Now coming to the sensors also, Motorola didn't skimp on a lot of sensors, and apps like Compass etc. do work fine on this Moto G, as you can see. And actually the GPS on this Moto G is also actually very good. I used this Moto G, I was driving for around 1100 kilometers, and I used the Moto G's GPS as my sole navigation device, and it did not fail me. Actually the GPS locks very quickly on the Moto G. And coming to other aspects like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, here also I did not face any issues with the Moto G. The performance of Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth was very good. In respect to Bluetooth, I would say it has one of the strongest Bluetooth reception that I have seen lately. Now moving to the camera, the Moto G has a 5 megapixel rate facing camera, and I would say the camera does a decent job outdoors in natural lighting, but in indoors and in low lighting conditions, though it has a LED flash, the pictures came out to be a little bit poor. I'm also not that thrilled with the camera interface. It's actually a pretty basic camera interface that we get. Again, I won't get into details regarding this because I have made a separate video regarding the camera performance.